Right, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Great to see you here. I'm Victoria Jennings, and this is Taking Care of Business. Today, I thought I would just simply go through the 8 individual profiles, and I really want you to think about how it relates to you in your business and how it shows up in your business, the behaviors show up in your business. But also, I want you to think about the other relationships that you have, your very intimate relationships, your family relationships, friendships. Okay, it will show up in all of these as well, because this is actually how we do behave and what we focus on because of where our genius zones are. Um, when you do the profiling tool, I know some of you have already done it. It actually identifies 4 traits. Okay, strategic, communicative, implementational, and logical. And it actually gives each one of those a percentage. So I'm going to be talking right now in my descriptions about what it's like if you're 100% this profile. Okay. Now, in your makeup, you're going to say things in your mind as I go through this. You'll say, I don't do that. I do this. Well, wherever you say, I don't do that, I do this, you need to look at your percentages because that will tell you the story. So um, you could be have a very, very high strategic trait, okay, which is all about future thinking and big picture and always in future thought, coming up with new ideas all the time. And you also might though have solid um, implementational going on, which means you're really good at getting things done. And when I talk about the innovator, I'm going to be saying they're not great at getting things completed. And you'll be saying, but I do. So that can be specific to you because of your trait that is opposite to that of an innovator. I hope that makes sense. It all comes down, the secret sauce is in the percentages. And you won't know that unless you've actually done the profile test yourself. I'm going to drop a link to do the profile test at the bottom of this when we're finished. So if you haven't done it, go in and do it again. If you found it difficult to do at any point, I've just revamped the questions and made them more simplistic. So the tool is a lot easier now. So if that happened to you and you struggled with the tool, okay, and you didn't understand some of the questions or you didn't understand some of the words, that's all been changed. So I would encourage you to go back in and do it again, okay? And that's okay. All right, so let's get into it straight away. So first of all, we always start with the innovator because this is where ideas are actually generated from. And I mean ideas on steroids. Everyone gets ideas, but innovators can't turn them off, okay? They wake up with them at 2 a.m. Remember, I'm talking about someone who's 100% innovator, okay? Um, so they're really, really great visionaries because they can see into the future easily. They excel at strategic thinking. Everything for them is about strategy. And they've got big ideas and they love initiating projects. They love starting things. That's what they're great at doing. So they've got visionary leadership and how they create winning businesses through strategy that disrupt the market. Okay, they really love to do that. So for them, their focus areas are crafting business strategies that position the business ahead of competitors, turning big ideas into actionable business plans, sorry, not steps, business plans, very long-term strategic planning versus short-term tactical moves, okay, using innovation to create irresistible products, services, and revenue streams. Um, Innovators are very good at getting money in the door through their strategies. Not so great at holding on to money, but very good at getting it in. Okay. How to stay inspired and keep the vision alive without getting distracted. So they're really, really good at getting everybody energized to the vision. Okay. They inspire people through the vision. That's what they do. When they're selling, that's how they sell as well. Okay. All right. The next one is the promoter. So they're very charismatic leaders. They excel at attracting attention, selling ideas, and influencing others. Okay. They'll even dress flamboyantly, and they're really, really particular about their appearances. Okay. So it's a spotlight effect for them. How to create magnetic marketing that attracts raving fans, whether they're doing that through message to market, or whether they're doing that on a stage, or whether they're doing that in a sales process. That's how they do it. And they're fantastic at shining a light on others. They're not so fantastic at shining a light on themselves. So they need another promoter to shine a light on them. And that's why a lot of promoters don't get their products out to market, because they can't shine the light on themselves. Okay. So they're very great. They're great at crafting messages that resonate and go viral. Okay. If we're talking about social media, they're really great at building a personal brand and becoming synonymous with trust and influence. So they're great influencers, make wonderful influencers. Great storytellers. They use storytelling techniques without being salesy. So even in a face-to-face sales process, that's what they're like. And they love creating the buzz around the product or service and launching the events. Okay, these are the people who are on stage. Wow, 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 wow. I've got so-and-so here coming to speak with us today. Let's give it up. You've all been to those conferences and those seminars, right? The promoters are the ones that are the MCs that get everyone fired up. They're a promoter profile for sure. Okay. And they leverage their charisma to build strategic partnerships and collaborations. Okay. So they love doing that. They're really great at doing that. All right, then we move down round to the motivator. So very energetic catalyst who excel at team morale and cheerleading a team. Great with relationship building in sales as well, and inspiring loyalty. They're fantastic again at knowing who's best to do what in a team. They're not so great at doing the stuff themselves, but they're great at motivating and cheerleading others to do it. Okay, so they've got people power, how to lead teams that love working for them, and how to drive growth through the teams. But also in sales, they do that through building relationships. So they build solid relationships, and that's how they sell. Okay, so they build a team culture that drives productivity and loyalty. So they make great leaders in the business for the team. They create community-driven marketing strategies and engage audiences. Okay, as I said before, and selling. They can get teams to do things and go above and beyond what they would normally do. And they can turn employees into brand ambassadors who amplify your message everywhere they go. Okay, so that's what they're fantastic at doing. But don't ask them to do a spreadsheet or anything back of office. And they do everything through conversation. So they're the chatterboxes in your business. They're the ones that want to talk all the time because that's how they do business. Okay. All right. The closer. Masters of resolution and harmony who excel at spotting opportunities and finalize deals, put them together by relationship management. So they are fantastic as long as their network is fantastic. So if we're talking about from a selling perspective, their network has to be the right network in order for them to work, if that makes sense. All right, so if you're recruiting a closer as a salesperson, you want to make sure that their network matches your ideal client, for example, okay? Sealing the deal, proven closing strategies that build trust and loyalty. Okay, so high conversion closing techniques that don't feel pushy because they love to build connections. They like real connections. They want to connect with people, not merely converse with people. So the relationships sometimes take a little bit longer to figure out, and it sometimes takes them a little bit longer to figure out who's got the opportunity and who they should put together, and if they're the business owner, how to monetize that. they can sometimes struggle with how to monetize it. And they'll be giving opportunities away to everybody except themselves. Okay. So that's something to watch for. They build long-term client relationships that lead to repeat business. They've got great conflict resolution strategies to maintain harmony throughout the negotiations that are occurring to get the deal done. How to leverage customer feedback that improves retention. They're really good at finding that out and passing that on. And creating win-win solutions that make clients feel valued and heard. Okay? And that's because they're about connection, true connection. And they want to come from a place of authenticity, as we all do. Okay, we all want to come from authenticity. Well, I hope we all do. Okay. And so that's why they are very good at doing those things. Then we come to the negotiator. So they're the balanced mediators who excel at finding common ground and building relationships from that common ground. They're great at conflict resolution and maintaining harmony in the team, particularly in the team. Okay. So they would be the artful negotiators, the win-win connections that boost productivity and customer service. So they're great nurturers. Okay. Negotiation tactics that maximize value without burning bridges. They would never burn a bridge. Never, ever. Conflict resolution techniques for team dynamics and client relations. Great at doing that. Fantastic at balancing harmony and taking action in present time. Remember I said before, the innovators are future time. The negotiators are in present time. Okay. And that brings us round now to the reflectors. So the reflectors are very methodical planners who excel at organisation, consistency, and real-time implementation. So they're the risk identifiers and they guide ways to work around them. So if they say to you as a CEO, and they're talking to you as to the CEO, and they might say, well, you better watch this because this could happen. They'll say it very quietly and they won't draw attention to themselves. So you better listen to them because they identify risks naturally. And a lot of like innovators can't see risks. So these people are very grounding and make sure that we can see the risk, but we need to listen because they'll only say it once. Right? They don't like to waste anything. They don't like to waste time. They don't like to waste words. Okay. They build workflows to increase efficiency and reduce chaos. They don't enjoy working in chaos businesses at all. That's the best way to get them to leave. Okay. They're great at managing projects and implementation for sustainable growth. They're going to make sure everything gets done on time and the processes are followed. That's what they're great at doing. They're consistency as far as growth is concerned is how to stay on track, right? How do we keep momentum going? Because they're in future time as well. Present time, sorry. They're in present time as well as the negotiators, okay? And closers. They're all in present time. Creating standard operating procedures for predictable results is something they're also really good at doing. Okie dokie. And that brings us round to the analyzers. They're very detail-oriented. They focus on, they're very data-driven. They excel with the data and analysing the data and coming up with solutions based on what the data and the systems and the processes are telling them. They're great at financial oversight and gaining clarity to solve problems without emotion. So they're really great for, cutting out all the rubbish, cutting through all the weeds and getting to the facts. They're very, very good at that. They're data dominators, okay? So how to make smart business decisions using numbers, that's what they do. Always based on the numbers. So using analytics to drive leverage and profitability. They use systems and process to maximize profitability and cash flow. They're great problem solvers using data and logic. They're really good at risk management. So once those risks have been identified perhaps and brought to their attention, then they're really great at managing those risks, putting things in place to make sure they won't happen again. Very good at streamlining operations. And they create dashboards that provide real actionable insights. Okay, they're really, really good at doing that. But they're not so great with, with people. Just like motivators are not so great with the data. Motivators complement analyzers, and analyzers complement motivators. Does that make sense? Okay. So, enhancers, they're the masters of refinement and optimization who excel at perfecting systems and processes. They're the great improvers, okay? They optimize to maximize. They're constantly improving systems and processes to maximize results. And they can always see where the gaps are. They see that naturally. Okay, so they're really, really awesome at continuous improvement processes to enhance efficiency. They're great with productivity hacks for optimizing team performance. They're really good at improving the way things are done to gain efficiencies in business operations. They're very good at streamlining operations without compromising quality. And they're fantastic at balancing perfectionism with how to do it better. Okay, so why is it important to understand all of the profiles, not just our own? It's important to understand who else we need on our team, who will complement who we are. Because what we do naturally when we recruiting new people, whether they're recruited on salary or whether they're recruited through outsourced contracts, doesn't matter. It's the same deal. Okay, we need people who complement our genius zone, not who are the same genius zone. We will get on with people who are the same genius zone really, really, really well. And we'll want to go to each other's parties because we're made from the similar cloth. We're not exactly the same. There's no two profiles on the test who have got exactly the same percentages in their makeup. That doesn't happen. That's one of the reasons I love this tool, because it still brings in individuality. Okay, even if you're the same profile, you're going to look different. You're going to have different makeup. So, it's important that we make sure we don't bring the same people to the party. Because I'm an innovator and I've got 80% strategic going on in my makeup. If I bring in another innovator, we will come up with fantastic business ideas and products. It will be amazing, and we'll have a really good time working together because we'll be bouncing off each other and coming up with more ideas and more ideas and more ideas, and that will cascade into more ideas. Okay, but we won't get anything done. We won't get anything implemented. We won't get anything in place. They'll stay ideas forever. We'll have a great conversation. We'll have a wonderful party, but no outcomes. Okay? So who's the opposite of innovators? Negotiators are the opposite of innovators. They're really good at getting things done. They're really good at taking the strategic plans that innovators make up and breaking them down to bite-sized pieces and putting them into place. That's what they do extremely well. And that's the difference between future time, which is all about strategy, and present time, which is all about getting stuff done. But we need each other. We need each other. I've already told you about motivators and analyzers and how different they are. And it's the same with enhancers and closers. They're the opposites. And the same with promoters and reflectors. They're opposites. So when you see this showing up in your family dynamic, you will understand why they do what they do. I had one son, still have, I won't say had, but I'm thinking about when in their childhood. I've got one son who is a motivator, who wants to be with people, is the center of the party. People gravitate towards him. I always had a house full of kids with him, right? And I've got the other one who's an analyzer, who's always, in himself, to himself. And he has a small circle of friends, very close friends from primary school he still has, right? So does my other son, but it's like it's a deeper connection that he has, but he only wants to have it with a few people. Okay, whereas my other son is very social. You know, one's an accountant, one's a school teacher. Okay, but when they were little, I didn't understand, and everyone assumes we should all be extroverts and we should all be happy to get on stage and do presentations, and that's not the case. That's not the case. That's why I love this tool. We use it in my trade college because it identifies what subjects people should be studying that's in alignment with their genius zone, rather than making them study things that they're going to struggle with. I love it for that. It's awesome. In business, it allows teams to work together in harmony, complementing each other's skills so everyone can work in their genius zones. Love it. Wonderful. Everyone's doing what they love, loving what they do. In your business, when you're a business owner, you can align to who you are in your genius zone and bring on people who can complement you in every other area so you can focus on your genius zone. Because what happens in your genius zone? That's where you get your biggest bang for your buck. As a business owner, your genius zone is your money maker. And if you're focused on other things, you're reducing how much money you're making. You're leaving money on the table that you're not picking up. I get very passionate about this because it makes so much sense to me. Okay. And I see it. I see the dysfunction of this that goes on in many, many, many organizations, businesses, universities. You know, Google. I walked into Google and they've got their whole work environment not conducive to the different profiles. And what happens when workplace isn't conducive to the different profiles? People burn out. People get sick. It can actually turn into heart attacks and cancer because it eats them from the inside out when they're out of alignment with who they are. That's why I get passionate about this. Okay, so if you haven't, I hope you found that a bit insightful. If you haven't already done your profile, I encourage you to do your profile. I encourage you to get your partner to do their profile, your life partner, your business partner. Get them to do it too, because you need to know where each other's coming from. If you have any other entrepreneurs in your network, in your circle, or who you're thinking of working with, get them to do their profile too. You just need the link. It's free. Okay? And I made it free because I want as many people as possible to do it. Because this changes lives. It really does literally change lives, understanding this. And it definitely changes your business, and it definitely changes the dynamic of your team. Because I've worked with teams with this. I've worked with Nebraska University with this. In the States, I've saved them $6 million in salaries because we had everyone in teams before they came on board. 300 new curriculum designers coming on board in one go. I helped them sort all that out and saved them $6 million in the process. This is how powerful this tool is when you understand it. It's a game changer. But not only is there a profile, there's also 8 stages of business that are attached to the profiles. There's 8 different ways to do business. There's 8 different ways to grow your money and grow your wealth. I don't talk about all of this. I talk about all of this in my Roadmap to Millions Bootcamp. That's where we really get into the nitty-gritty of all of this. And then you can never look at business the same way again. You can never look at people the same way again. And you know exactly who you're talking to and why they're the way they are. And it makes closing sales so much easier when you know who you're speaking with immediately before you even get on the call. As soon as they've done the profile, you know who you've got to speak with and how to speak to them. I've got a sales program coming out soon all about that. Okay? So it all starts, everything starts with your profile and understanding who you are so that you can understand others. Game changer. I can't tell you. I don't care what stage your business is at. You could have a 20-year-old business. You could have one that's a month old. Wouldn't matter. This is going to help. This knowledge helps. And it makes you able to implement a whole lot of other things that you wouldn't have been able to implement before you knew this. Okay? I give you glasses with 4 lenses in it to work with people and to design your business around this as well for maximum and optimum profitability. Okay? All right. Any questions? Put them in the comments later. If you're watching the replay, comment replay. And call to action. Call to action is comment profile down below, and I'll make sure you get the link to do the profile, the free profile. Okay? It doesn't take long to do, 10-15 minutes and you're done. And it will be the best thing you've ever done. Honestly. Okay. All right, everyone. I look forward to seeing you next week when we take care of business again. And let me know in the comments too if there's any topic you'd like me to cover that I haven't done yet or you haven't seen yet. Okay, I'm more than happy to take that on board as well. All right, have a great day or evening or afternoon, wherever you are in the world at the moment. And I'll see you again next Thursday for Taking Care of Business. Bye.